Today on How It's Made. Copper pipe fittings. Golden fittings throughout the home. It's just a pipe dream. Cylinder music boxes. Always turning out a rounded tune. Pepper mills. For some, they're just part of the daily grind. And hot rod steering columns. Always moving in the right direction. Hopefully. But first... In the world of plumbing, it's all about connections, and we're talking about elbows, T's and other fittings. Fittings bring plumbing together. They're also used to reroute pipes and control the movement of liquids. Without them, things just wouldn't flow as they should. With so many shapes and sizes to choose from, today's pipe fittings have all the angles covered. The parts start life as a sheet of copper. This copper has been refined until it's 99% pure. The sheets are put into a furnace, which is fired to just over 1000 degrees Celsius. The copper melts into a liquid and then flows into a second furnace. This one has cylindrical molds which draw the liquid copper up and cool it, shaping it into solid copper rods. These rods are flexible enough to wind through rollers as they travel towards a spindle. The copper is wound into coils to await the next step. This device uncoils the metal and chops it into small pucks, just a couple of centimeters in diameter. Incredibly, each one of these tiny pucks will be enough to make a fitting. This tool pushes the copper puck into a cylindrical die to shape it into tubing. In one swift action, the metal is transformed into a much longer piece of pipe. This piece of copper has been reshaped as easily as a piece of putty. One end is closed, for now. At the next station, machinery bends the tubing around forms to give it an elbow shape. At the same time, a blade cuts the closed end to open it up. Next, the elbows will get some fine-tuning. A two-part device comes together to steady the fixture. Tools stretch the internal diameter so the part will fit onto other pipes. A spinning cutter then carves bevels onto the rims. This beveled edge will allow it to slide more easily onto other pipes during installation. At another furnace, fittings for larger scale projects are taking shape. This molten copper will be used for high-rises and other buildings with bigger plumbing systems. The copper flows into a casting furnace. It makes copper rods that are about the size of a telegraph pole. Each one weighs about a ton, so it takes a crane to move it onto the production line. A circular saw then carves them up, creating chunks of copper that look a bit like firewood. Each chunk is then heated into a furnace to make it more pliable. Then it's placed in an extruder. Using tons of hydraulic pressure, the extruder hollows out the copper log. At the same time, it forces the metal into a die that stretches it 12 times its original length and slims it down considerably. The lengthy tubing cools down in a bath. A crane then moves it down the production line to machinery that adjusts the diameter and chops it up. Water now flows into the shorter piece of pipe, which is encased in a mold. Tools push into the pipe, forcing the water in a vertical direction. Water pressure reshapes the tubing into a T, while the mold makes the contours. T-fittings are used to combine or split the flow of fluid in a plumbing system. The water-forming press produces a seamless unit. The closed end at the base of the T is cut. And the 3 openings are machined, because when they connect it to other pipes, it has to fit to a T, of course. These fittings are now ready to join other pipes and parts, and by doing so, they'll make our lives a whole lot more convenient. In Victorian times, the cylinder music box could make or break a party. Its rich ringing tones filled the room, and the design was a truly mechanical marvel. Today, that distinctive sound still resonates, as companies make these instruments for a growing collector's market. Open the box and you'll discover the gift of music from another era. Just wind up the mechanism inside for live music without any performers. A cylinder revolves and pins strum a comb to produce the notes. The sound is similar to that of a bell choir or harp ensemble. It all starts with equipment that stamps and cuts steel to produce a comb shape. A circular saw carves teeth in it, and this tool sharpens them. The combs are then baked over flames and then plunged into cooling oil to create a thermal shock that hardens the steel. With a flat tool, molten lead is directed into a mould positioned under the comb. The lead hardens into a weight that will help produce the low notes. A rotating tool cuts teeth into it. Lead solder is spread on the comb's edge and on a corresponding piece of lead. The excess is filed off. The comb is tuned by first clipping the teeth and then grinding them until the notes they produce are precisely pitched. This bit of fine-tuning is computer controlled. Synthetic feathers are dipped in glue and then applied to the bass notes to soften the vibrations. This completes the musical comb. A brass cylinder is drilled for the holes. This will transfer the musical score. A computer controls this process, as well as the next one, which involves cutting steel wire and inserting it into each of the cylinder's holes. This is called pinning. And of course, in the old days, it was all done manually and was far more time-consuming. Next, the cylinder is filled with resin. This adheres to the walls, securing the pins from the inside. Compressed air is used to cool the cylinder as the resin cures. After an axle has been installed inside, the cylinder is arranged on a base plate. Racks are installed for the axle to turn on. The cylinder's speed will be regulated by the governor. Using a special tool, a long spring is wound into its housing near the governor. It's the release of this spring's pent-up energy that will cause the cylinder to rotate and strum the comb. Positioning the comb next to the cylinder takes a certain know-how. If it's even slightly out of place, there'll be a lot of sour notes. Dust can also affect the music, so the unit's given a thorough clean. It's at this point that the lever that winds the music box is attached. This small spring completes the connection. The mechanical parts are put into a box, and it's showtime. This classic wooden cabinet sets the stage for a musical act that has timeless appeal. There are also more contemporary-looking music boxes. This arched glass design showcases the centuries-old technology. And there's a version that comes with all the bells and whistles. Here, the cylinder operates cams that hit bells while at the same time plucking the comb. It's a good example why the music box continues to be a tough act to follow. Coming up, peppermills, a culinary addition with a well-seasoned reputation. And hot rod steering columns, keeping you on the straight and narrow. See you after the break.